Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 1 in a best of 3 between DNA Maniac and Gal O'Neill, and this is round 3 of the Great Paradox Tourney. Now before I continue this replay, you may hear that I sound quite ill, and that is because I am, and therefore if I pause for whatever reason throughout the game, it's probably because I've muted my mic and I'm coughing, sneezing, whatever. So apologies about that, but I'll try and keep it as flowing as possible throughout the video. Anyway, let's have a look at the players. We have DNA Maniac, who we have not seen before in the Great Paradox Tourney. He has not played a best of 3 series yet, and that is because he got a bye in round 1, a bye in round 2, and therefore has found his way to round 3 without playing a single game in the tournament, which is quite unfortunate for him because he will lack the practice that Gal O'Neill most certainly has after his journey to round 3, which was in the first round defeating Duro SVK 2-0, and then in the second round defeating Goody in a 2-1, which was a very interesting series indeed. So some good experience for Gal O'Neill, and that will likely help him out quite a lot against DNA Maniac. However, I know DNA Maniac's name, so I'm sure he can put up a good fight, and hopefully we'll see a really nice best of 3 series today. We are on Pointe du Hoc for this one, which is a pretty fair map considering the divisions that people are playing. DNA Maniac is going to be taking the 1st Panzer and Gal O'Neill the 12th SS Panzer. Now the main things to note about this matchup is the 12th SS Panzer generally defeats the majority of the 1st Panzer's armour throughout the entirety of the game, due to having access to the Buoy to Firefly in Phase A, and then, the progression to Panzer IVs and Panther Ds, and then finally Befehl Panthers. And they're really, really strong against things like Fireflies and the Cromwells that the 1st Panzer can put up. Now the only thing that really the 1st Panzer has to deal with the 12th SS armour is 17 pounders, of course, and the use of these hedgerows where you might be able to sneak up a few Shermans and get them close enough to penetrate at a closer range. Also the Fireflies can get pretty decent veterancy. I believe the 1st Panzer can get a 2-star Firefly in Phase C, so if he can make use of that, then maybe it can pop some Panthers, but we'll have to wait and see. The main thing that DNA Maniac is going to have to play around is his infantry. However, even that might be considered countered by the 12th SS, because the 12th SS has Panzer Grenadiers and half-tracks, and half-tracks for rifles are actually really hard to deal with because they don't have any AT. So the half-tracks can pretty much run all over the rifles that the 1st Panzer can put out, and the 1st Panzer is going to be relying pretty heavily on the Piats from their command infantry as well as the Cromwells early on. So it's really going to be a matter of whether or not the players take the units that counter the others. On the side of Gal O'Neill, I don't expect a Firefly out in the early phases, which may allow DNA Maniac to take advantage of that. So at the moment, Gal O'Neill is going to be starting with the 259. Then he has the Panzergrens there. We've got Speedtroop. We've got an AT gun with a command infantry there. In the centre of the map is going to be AT, command infantry, recon at the top side, same as the bottom side, just without the 259. Then for DNA Maniacs, it's going to be rifles and command infantry for the top side of the map. In the middle, we do have a Cromwell 5 coming out, and there isn't really too much to counter that, like I was saying. And then at the bottom side, it's going to be recon, rifles, and AT gun. So this Cromwell is really the big disparity between the players at the moment. DNA Maniac's going to have to see if he can use this Cromwell 5 effectively at the start of the game, whilst Gal O'Neill is not relying on his Buoy to Firefly. But at the bottom of the map so far, it looks like there could be a very big salient forming for DNA Maniac at the start of this game. This Jeep could have zoomed all the way down this road, and I'm quite surprised to see it hasn't. Well, it looks like it's going to now. There we go. Off to a good start. So the Pak 38, that's going to be popping, I think 1 unit of rifles went down there at the start of the game. Pack 38 going to be bailing out the universal carrier, and that's already pinned down the 6-pounder because of that. Pack 38 is going to finish off the universal carrier at Cromwell 5. Needs to be careful not to get too close. 259 is going to be opening up onto some of this infantry. Going to be smashing into the Streltsy, although it has found its way into line of sight of the Cromwell 5. So Gallo O'Neill may be losing this 259 unnecessarily if he allows that engagement to continue. So 259, they're going to be forced to fall back. In the top side, it looks like the command infantry was actually killed off. We see a burning command carrier here, I think. Yes, which probably was shot up by the 2-star Pack 38. The Pack 38 in the mid has now moved forwards and is attacking the Cromwell 5, which is backing off as well. This should open up a little bit of ground for the 259, however, the 6-pounder is now fighting back. And we see a Pack 38 up here killing off the carrier. So all of the armoured vehicles, really, for DNA Maniac being killed off, other than this universal carrier at the bottom. Oh, a bailout shot there for the Pack 38. 6-pounder returns a favour onto the 259, but that is huge. Cromwell 5 going to go down there early on. Now, DNA Maniac has found quite a lot of ground on this bottom side, but with the arrival of the SBW-222, with this recon, it looks like that will be able to take out the Jeep and reclaim the land down on that bottom side. 56% territory for DNA Maniac, giving him the 140 points early on, but that's not going to last too long, I don't feel, as DNA has definitely had his foothold weakened by the loss of the Cromwell early on. But now we see the investment in a Sexton. Now this is an interesting choice. He's probably using it because he's come up against so many Pack 38s that have really given him a headache from the start of this game. But one thing that Gallo O'Neill might be able to identify here as we continue in this game is that the Panzer Grenadiers are pretty much like outmatch the rifles almost every time, and then he has the half-tracks to back those up as well, so he could make a lot of ground if he starts to make some probing attacks into the enemy. It's only things like the Cromwells that he has to be worried about early on. Now that 259 is going to find itself bounced by a 6-pounder shot. However, I don't think he's going to be lucky for much longer, although he just creeps out of range there. Going to fall back into range though. I'm pretty sure that 258 must be dead. Yeah, it's gone. So Gallo O'Neill maybe losing that unnecessarily because the fallback mechanic kind of messed him up there, but it is what it is. Panzergrenadier and Panzer Grenadiers now opening up onto the rifles here and the Vickers. We have a Pack 38 rolling across the open here into range of rifles. Speartroop and the 251 should be able to pin those down pretty nicely, and honestly there's no command covering those at the moment. You do have the command infantry here, but it's not actually, this rifle squad is not in range of it, so this half track could just go for a drive. We do see the 251 here revealing rifles in this building. It's a little bit close for comfort at the moment. If it stays too close for too long, the 50-meter grenade there will be able to take out the half track. We do see the surrender of the rifles on this top side, and this is really going to start to hurt for DNA Maniac throughout the rest of this game, as he doesn't really have an answer for these half tracks at the moment. There is 2 6-pounders on the bottom side, which is making it pretty hard for Gallo O'Neill to advance with any form of armoured unit. We've seen the 259 go down here, we've seen the half tracks get killed off, but there, the 222 getting on target with the 20mm. Going to be wiping out one of the 6-pounders, opening up the bottom side of the map. Now, I feel like this is a bit of a mistake, letting this Pack 38 be engaged by infantry for so long, especially when you aren't really utilising your half-tracks very well. But either way, these rifles have been forced to fall back, and that has brought the territory back to 50-50 now. Maniac's still in the lead with the 268 points, but I feel like that's not going to last as long as he thinks. I'm sure from DNA Maniac's perspective at the moment, he's probably thinking this is quite miraculous that he's still in it, because there is only one unit of infantry on the top side covering there. He's got a very strong lack of units throughout, but is finally bringing in the reinforcing Cromwell 5 for the bottom side and a Stuart 5 for the top side. Now the main thing to watch out for here will be whether or not the Pak 38 can find the kill onto the Stuart 5, and down on the bottom side whether or not an AT gun can be used to take out the Cromwell 5 here, because the Pak 38 that was originally bailing out the first Cromwell 5 has actually been killed off now. I believe this Sexton is finding shots onto all of those fire support units. New AT gun is on its way though, and this could be just in time to deal with this Cromwell 5, which would be absolutely devastating for DNA Maniac. This Vickers HMG is not going to last too long under fire from the Panzergrenz, Speedtroop and the 251. There it goes. Pak 38 just waiting for a shot onto the Stuart 5, but the track's destroyed there on the 251. That may be a little bit careless there for Gallo-Neal, but either way, this Stuart 5 stopping the advance for now. Looks like the attack is being focused in the centre. Panzergrenführer are kind of getting ahead of themselves here. Should really have them smoked off so that he can maintain the command radius over his units without losing the Panzer Grenadiers. 223 gonna be hammering the Streltsy here. We do see Aufklärer moving up. The Cromwell 5 has arrived and taken out the 222. That rifle squad is going to be surrendered just before the 223 gets forced to fall back itself. So this Cromwell 5 just a little bit too late to save those rifles, but it might be able to make quite a bit of ground if it finds a way to deal with the Pak 38. And honestly, this Sexton, if it finds some shots onto this Pak 38, maybe pins it down, the Cromwell 5 could just charge it, find the kill, and then make loads of ground. The main thing I'm worried about for DNA Maniac is that his defense is very weak across the board. I feel like Gallo-Neal is just being overly conservative with his half tracks, and that is letting DNA Maniac get away with it and bring in the reinforcements where he needs to. I'm very surprised to see this 223 still alive down here. The Cromwell 5, however, going to be able to get shots on target, starting to force the fall back. Might lose line of sight, however, as it reverses into cover. Very nice. So a little bit of a salient forming now for Gallo-Neal, as he is starting to push up with a few of his units. He's getting the +1 on the board, trying to catch up with DNA Maniac's 268 points. Sexton's firing away. Did see the Pak 38 come in, so is going for the attack onto that, unless that's just simply a counter battery onto the 257, which has unwittingly hit the Pak 38 as it moves forwards. Let's jump over to DNA Maniac's side of things. There is pretty much no recon across the board for him, so all of his recon information is primarily down to his rifles more than anything. But it looks like that Sexton's just being used there to counter battery rather than aim directly for this Pak 38. Pak 38 is looking for the shot onto the Lloyd carrier. I feel like that might be a bad idea if he lets that give away its position. However, if it gets the kill, then that's actually not too bad. But in this case, not going to happen. Going to force the Vickers out early. This Sexton needs to find the shot onto the Pak 38 to make a difference. So 259, oh, it bailed out the Cromwell 6 at close range. That is absolutely devastating for DNA Maniac. And he's found the surrender. The 259 taking out a Cromwell 5. That is a massive deal. +2 now for Gallo-Neal. Just really, really well played so far. He has been rather conservative in my opinion, but it's working out. He's definitely still making ground. He's finding these rifles here. He's probably going to make them surrender. And now he's just got to try and focus down on this top side. I'm pretty sure he's just waiting for the Pak 38 to find line of sight onto the Stuart 5. And that should find the kill. That's only 5 armor against a 10 AP 2-star AT gun. This Pak 38 making its way down now. Is not being targeted by the Sexton. But is being targeted by the Vickers. So DNA Maniac definitely knows this is here. And of course, Gal O'Neill knows that the Cromwell 5 is on the bottom side. A little bit of an air engagement going on up here. Hurricane Mark 4 coming in with the bombs. MU-109, G6R6, 2-star veteran. Is it going to be able to get the kill shot in time? It's pretty damn accurate, so yep, that's going to happen. 50 cows, not really very helpful in time. The Crusader AA there, Mark 2B, also having a go at the MU-109 G6R6, but the recon plane going to be shot down. And now a little bit of a strafing run onto the Cromwell 5. However, I feel like this MU-109 G6R6 may be outstaying its welcome with the lack of cannon ammunition now. Panzer IV is rolling up on this bottom side, has not found line of sight onto the Cromwell 5 just yet. However, as the Cromwell 5 reveals itself, this Panzer IV should be able to open up, and will be doing just that. Ooh, driver wounded. It's a good first shot. The Cromwell 5 misses. Pak 38's rolled into range. Line of sight. Pretty sure that's a dead Cromwell 5. That must look very cool, actually. The little skirmish on the edge of the cliff there. Transmission damage. Wow, this Cromwell 5 is pretty damn lucky right now. Sexton is firing at the Pak 38. Actually missed one of the shots completely there. But the Cromwell 5 now eventually going down. And Sexton did find the kill onto the Pak 38. But now a +2 still for Gal O'Neill. And he's bringing in reinforcements for the centre road in order to contest the infantry in this sort of residential area. On the top side, things relatively slow for Gal O'Neill with the arrival of the Sherman 5. Doesn't really have much to deal with that. The Stuart 5, however, has been killed on this top side by the Pak 38, and with the arrival of the Crusader AA Mark 2B, we might see another free kill there for the Pak 38. That Crusader AA just stopping short. So this 251 could be surrendered by those Streltsy, actually. Streltsy, if they get the 50-meter grenades off, could force that to fall back, but it's not going to happen this time round. 6-pounders opening up onto the reinforcing half tracks and the 223 here. Looks like this 257 could very much do with some more ammunition, and it looks like it's on the way. However, MU-109 G2 BR21 going to be the weapon of choice for Gal O'Neill to pin down this 6-pounder and open up the opportunities for his half tracks. So with the destruction of that Cromwell 5 and seeing the front line push so far forwards on this bottom side, I'm very surprised not to see a fast move from this Panzer IV to take some more ground there. But I guess he doesn't need to. He just needs to stabilize, and it should be okay. 257 using its smoke to keep that 6-pounder under wraps. The half tracks now opening up onto the Vickers as it reveals itself. Panzer Grenadiers getting into position there. Going to be Panzer Fausting the Morris LRC, taking a lot of damage immediately. Superzi were pinned down. But this is actually going to be very hard for DNA Maniac to make some ground, because the Panzer Grenadiers can just carve up his infantry so easily. And in a choke point, the Panzerfaust has more than enough range to kill off his Shermans as well. So he's in a pretty bad spot right now. Sexton's going for the counter battery onto the 257, which may make things difficult for him, for Gal O'Neill at least. With the 257 falling back here, that makes it take a while for him to be able to reload that. as when a unit is generally under attack, you can't resupply it. ME-109 G6R6 wants to go for the engagement onto the Hurricane Mark IV, I believe, but hasn't really found it and did get panicked quite a bit due to the Crusader AA Mark IIB, I would assume. Hurricane Mark IV going for the bombing strike, going to be hitting this infantry quite nicely. Actually took out one unit of infantry entirely, and the carrier is zooming down the road to attempt a surrender. Now double ME-109 G6R6 2-star veterancy coming in. Well, that's pretty damn dangerous. It's flying very close to the Crusader AA Mark IIB, and he does have the oil leak there already. So a few more shots and that would have gone down, but going to be getting away with it this time around. ME-109 G6R6 strafing on the bottom side. Going to be going for some hits onto the carrier there. Now that ME-109 does have actually a chance of killing the carrier, but it looks like the carrier did find a surrender onto one of the half tracks. Superzi have managed to get up into the face of some recon, and that did quite a bit of damage. However, the Panzergrenadier here, there's a good chance those Panzergrenadier could die. And there they go. And they get killed off. Half track is in a pretty sticky spot. Is being shot at by the Sexton directly. The Superzi are dead. Now this is not good for DNA Maniac, because if he drives through this choke point, there's actually a chance like a Panzergrenadier squad might hit him. However, did find the line of sight just in time before the Panzergrenadiers got too close. 259 here. Going to be able to slam that M5 half track in the side armor. Only has 13 rounds left though, and is going to be killed off. So this looks like a break back almost from DNA Maniac. He's definitely punched through very well. Got the Superzi to do their job, even if they did die doing so. And that might allow him to make back quite a lot of ground, because this Sherman 5 is a pretty big threat at close range for Gallo-Neal. 258, however, coming in on the top side. Pack 38's moved forwards into range of the Crusader AA Mark IIB. Pack 38 should find the kill there, honestly. With that Crusader AA being panicked. Oh, third shot actually missed. Fourth shot, is it going to? It didn't even fire. That is cheeky. DNA Maniac getting away with, well, living there. I was going to say murder, but that would have been maybe the other way around. Anyway, 251 going to be doing some damage to the M5 half track there. I love the way these rifles are still just sitting by that half track, not caring. On the bottom side, Panzer IV now firing into the Strelzy here. So this Sherman 5 could make a lot of ground, and we have some reinforcing infantry coming in here. M5 half track with the Superzi. We have rifles being brought in as well. I guess the biggest risk to the Sherman 5 right now is being surrounded, but with the annihilation of that 251, that's gonna actually give back quite a lot of ground to DNA Maniac. You can see we've almost gone back to 49%. It's currently sitting on 48%. But DNA Maniac definitely not out of this. He seems to have almost stabilized in the center of the map. Still struggling on the top and bottom. But with the arrival of more reinforcing units like the Sherman 5, he definitely has a fighting chance against things like the Panzer IVH here. So the ME-109 G2 BR-21 going to be finding rockets onto the Sexton. There's actually a good chance of a kill there, honestly, because the Sexton is open top, so those rockets can get the kills. But Crusader AA Mark II going to be opening up onto one of the ME-109 G6R6s, but I don't think there's enough to stop that Hurricane going down. One of the ME-109 there going to be forced to fall back. The second one also probably going to follow suit. Interesting stuff. So, rifles are trying to make ground in the center here. Sherman 5, however, has just killed a Panzer IV in the mid, which is the only thing really that Gallowneal has to stop DNA Maniac, unless he wants to invest in as much as a Panther, which honestly isn't great. Now I believe there's a hill here stopping the direct line of sight onto the Panzer IV here, but with the help of the Sexton, this engagement is very much in favour of the Sherman 5. We also see the Crusader AA Mark II coming up and slamming the Panzer IV at close range, and that could very easily cause a surrender if that fuel explosion didn't come through. So Sherman 5 there going to be cleaning up another Panzer IV, and DNA Maniac making some very good plays here. This Crusader AM Mark II is trying to deal with the 223 now. This Aufklärer has managed to hide itself. Wow. Pretty damn good job at the moment by DNA Maniac to come back into this game. It looks pretty much in favour of Gallowneal in its entirety, but has found some very, very good shots with these Sherman 5s. And like I mentioned at the start of the game, at close quarters combat, these Sherman 5s are absolutely deadly. They have a very fast aim time. They're pretty accurate these days with the 5 accuracy across the board. And yeah, just in general, pretty decent unit. So, have found the kills onto those 8 armor Panzer IVs. Now it's just a matter of whether or not DNA Maniac can follow up these pretty decisive kills with infantry play and artillery play. This 25 pounder getting way too close though. That 25 pounder is ridiculously close to the front line right now. It's actually in range of this mortar, which is definitely not what you want to see. So a big mistake there, and it looks like these ME-109 G6R6s might be able to strafe that to death, and that's exactly what happened. So a lot of resources invested there into that 25 pounder, and he's going to be losing that unnecessarily. In this top side, the Pack 38 did die, and we see that there is still these 2 units of Panzergrenadiers here. Looks like it's just a duel between the Crusader AA Mark II-B and the 258, and currently, well, the 258 is in a pretty bad spot there. But this salient that's formed for DNA Maniac is now giving him the +1. But he has got to fight through Kretschmar and Whitman. Whitman is on his way down on this bottom side, and that could prove to be a pretty big problem for DNA Maniac. Generally, what you would hope to see with the 1st Panzerner is a pretty aggressive phase A and B, but since DNA Maniac didn't really find the momentum in phase A and has only just done it in phase B, I don't think he's necessarily made enough ground to stop Gallowneal from cleaning him up in phase C and getting back to the same position he was in before. Because as you can see at the moment, the push is starting to peter out quite a lot. The Sherman 5 in this bottom side is about to get completely countered by Whitman. We see the Sherman 5 getting pretty deep into enemy territory up here, and soon he's going to be bumping into a couple of Panzer IV-H's, which are 2-star veterancy, and that's just going to be so damn hard for DNA Maniac to deal with. This Crusader AA Mark II just trying to help out best he can, but with the weapon jam onto the Sherman 5 and that hit there, that Sherman 5 is running for his life. Whitman, however, not going to let him get away. Cracking the kill there, and it's only a matter of time before Whitman finds a kill onto the Crusader AA Mark II, and again that opens up the bottom side of the map for Gallowneal. This salient is being taken care of. 259 comes in for the flank onto the Sherman 5, didn't quite work out. Sherman 5 going to be able to find the kill there onto the 259, I would assume. Panzer IV rolling into position. Kretschmar has the main road covered, looking for the kills onto the Crusader AM Mark IIs. I do like the investment in these Crusader AA Mark IIs to stop the air dominance coming out of Gallowneal, but the positioning of these is just not good at all. And that is allowing Kretschmar to pick up those 2 kills there pretty damn easily. And Whitman's rolling on down to this bottom side to take care of that Crusader AA. So the only hope now really for DNA Maniac is the use of the Sherman 5 in the mid. Maybe he can find the kill onto the Panzer 4H there, but Whitman is not going to miss that shot at that range. Job done. Panzer 4H finds the internal fragments onto the Sherman 5 with help of the ME-109 with G2 BR-21. Comes in with the rockets. No idea what happened to the camera there, but we do see a Sherman burning, and that is the end of that push. And I believe the end of DNA Maniac's hopes in this game. The only way that he would ever be able to come back is if he brought in a Firefly and found kills on all of this armor that Gal O'Neill now presents, which is quite a lot of armor. He has a Panzer 4H coming in on the top side, he's got 2 in the mid, Kretschmar and the other, and then he's got Whitman on the bottom side, and on the side of DNA Maniac, well, there is not a single tank in sight unless you count in these Crusader AAs. Firefly 1C is rolling in. Not sure it's quite in time to save the day. 57% territory lead in favour of Gal O'Neill. 257 being used very well throughout this game to harass the infantry now. You can see a lot of the munitions have been used up on Gal O'Neill's truck here, and that just shows that this 257 has been used very well to pin down enemy infantry and use units throughout the game to allow the infantry to advance. Now there was a time where DNA Maniac had complete control of these buildings, but he has slowly but surely lost that control. Did Whitman there find a kill onto another Crusader AA? Or was that Kretschmar? It might have been Kretschmar. Rifles here. Bit deep in enemy territory. Going to be cleaned up by the double Panzer IV and the half-track there. Jagdpanzer rolling up to the top side. Not quite sure what happened to the Panzer IV up here unless it came down to join the one in the mid. But either way, Jagdpanther in a pretty nice spot. Has direct line of sight onto the 25 pounder. And again, this 25 pounder way too close. That has 2,400 meter range. Currently sitting within 800 meter range. Definitely not the place you want your 25 pounders. And I feel like that's a big mistake that he's been making throughout the entire game so far. So he's soon going to have that killed by the Jagdpanzer. These Panzer Grenadiers currently have the Sikorsky pin down here, but with the arrival of the M5 half-track, that's going to make things difficult for the Panzer Grens. Unless they can maybe bait that into range if it's got a attack move order. The Sikorsky also being shot up on the bottom side, as they do require the 100 meter range to be effective. In this engagement, Panzer Grenadiers with the 9HE from their MGs. Going to be more than enough to do the job. 25 pounder did die on the top side, 258 still hammering the Strelzy up here. Panzer Grenadiers are almost killed off. Going to be forced to fall back. Might just about get away with it. Crusader AA Mark II opening up onto the half-track. Might find the kill. There is double Panzer 4H here and the 222 however. And at close range, 222 could even kill the Crusader AA Mark II. It's really going to be up to the Sherman 5 at this point. And well, with only 10 minutes left on the map and 1,500 points in favour of Gal O'Neill, there's a lot of work to do for DNA Maniac. And at the moment, well, shooter knocked out for the Sherman 5. Going to be making the driver zoom up the road towards Panzer IV once again. Ideally though, this is actually good for the Sherman 5. You want to be engaging as close range as you can really against Panzer IVs, because Panzer IVs have a slightly slower aim time, which allows you to get an advantage with the Sherman 5s at close range. Of course, if you miss, you're kind of screwed, but then again, so are they, so it works out. Strelzy here, going to be brought in with the 257. Those rifles, though, going to be killed off very quickly by the combination of speed through, Panzergrenz, Kretschmar, and so on. Sherman 5 looking for the engagement onto the Panzer 4. Has its ammo storage hit though by the 222. Comes in with a side shot. That's pretty damn incredible. Now the Sherman 5 takes out one of the half tracks down here. Is now going to be aiming at the 222, but surrenders after 31 minutes and 25 seconds. Not entirely sure what convinced him to surrender, but there we go. Maybe all was lost. He realised that there were too many points in favour of Gallo-Neal, and Gallo-Neal is going to pick up the first game in a best of 3 against DNA Maniac. And boy, am I surprised how well my voice held up in this one. But anyway, really convincing scoreline there for Gallo-Neal. 2,790 kills to 1,370 losses. Ended the game with 1,712 points. Pretty much impossible to come back in 10 minutes from that score line. So Gallo-Neal using the right division to counter the 1st Panzer quite well. I like the use of Panzer IVs over Panthers. It was what he needed. Just enough to really take on the Shermans. Although the Shermans in Phase B, especially in that terrain, do very well against the Panzer IVs due to the aim time. And we did see that come about. And I was actually convinced that DNA Maniac might have been able to make a more competitive game of it. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off. He ended up getting pushed back after he overextended quite a bit. And that's where it ended. So, in terms of kills, 6-pounder picked up a nice amount of kills in the mid, taking out the 259 and multiple half tracks. Sherman 5 came in here. This was the one that made the big push down the mid, I'm assuming. Got loads of kills. Really, really good job. This was what really gave DNA Maniac a chance to get back into the game. Didn't end up paying off, however, as the losses, well, the Panzer 4H came in, cleaned up a few things. We also saw the really good use of Air Force from Gallo-Neal using the two-star MU-109 G6R6s and the G2 BR-21s. But as soon as Whitman arrived, there really wasn't too much that DNA Maniac could do about that other than maybe rely on his Fireflies. And it looks like the Firefly that we saw brought in from reinforcements was killed off, and maybe that's what sparked the surrender from DNA Maniac. So there you have it. Pack 38s at the start really, really set the tone for the game. Finding the bailed out Cromwell was just really, really good from this Pack 38. Also, the kills onto the carriers, the Universal Carrier and the Command Carrier, that was a big deal as well, due to the machine gun fire support from those vehicles being very useful against things like Panzergrenz, which generally would otherwise stomp your infantry. So yeah, some really good kills. Stuart 5 also going down on the top side eventually. Just well played indeed. And oh, this is one to remember, the 259 killing surrendering the Cromwell 6 in the end, in the middle of the map. But that is it. That is game 1 of the best of 3 between DNA Maniac and Gallo-Neal. Gallo-Neal going to be taking it and moving on to the second game with a 1-game lead. So Gallo-Neal only needing one more game to move on to the semi-finals of the Great Paradox Tourney. And DNA Maniac going to be having to find 2 wins in a row. So we'll have to see if that happens in the next game. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.